Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. You ever just open up ChatGPT and, you're just like overwhelmed by all your old chats?
Happens to the best of us.
It's like, where do I even begin? But there's this new feature. It's called projects. And it seems like, well, from what I've been reading, it's not just like a filing system, It could really change the way we use ChatGPT, like on a much deeper level.
Yeah, it's really exciting. This whole idea of ChatGPT having a persistent memory is pretty huge. It's like it's moving from just being like a forgetful assistant to more like a partner that actually remembers what you've talked about and can build on that.
So you're not starting from scratch every time you open a new chat.
Exactly. It's more like you're picking up where you left off, in an ongoing conversation.
I like that.
So imagine you've got a separate space for like each of your big projects or your research topics. And, within those spaces, you can keep all your chats organized, any files you need, and you can even tell ChatGPT like how you want it to respond. So it gets really specific to what you're working on.
So it's like giving ChatGPT a personality.
Yeah, sort of. You're giving it context, and that opens up a whole bunch of new possibilities for like how we use it for learning, research, creating, all that good stuff.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So let's back up a little bit. The definition I found basically says that projects are a way to manage a bunch of different conversations inside ChatGPT, which sounds pretty simple when you put it like that. But I'm curious about what that actually means, like the bigger picture.
Okay, so think about it this way. Before projects, every time you talk to ChatGPT, it was like a one-time thing.
Right.
You ask a question, it gives you an answer, and then poof, it's gone. It's forgotten everything. But with projects, it's like you're building an actual relationship, a history together, so it knows you better over time.
So it's not just giving you those same generic answers anymore. It's learning your style, what you need.
Exactly. And that just opens up a world of possibilities. For everything.
Okay, now I'm starting to see the potential here. So the source I was looking at talks about some key benefits: centralized workspace, improved organization, and easy retrieval, which all seem pretty straightforward. But I guess, what does that actually mean for someone who's using ChatGPT like every day? How does it actually help?
Okay, let's say you're a student, right? And you're studying for a big exam. In the past, you might have had like all these ChatGPT conversations scattered all over the place, and trying to find anything specific would have been a total nightmare. But with projects, you could create a space just for that exam, all your chats, all your notes, everything in one place. And then you could even have ChatGPT like make you a quiz or flashcards.
That's having this study buddy that never gets tired.
Right.
But it can also, I could see how this would be useful for someone like a researcher who's maybe digging into a really complex topic.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like imagine you're putting together information from a ton of different sources. You've got notes, summaries, you're exploring all these different angles. Projects would let you keep all that organized, find exactly what you need instantly. You could even have ChatGPT analyze patterns, find connections between different ideas.
That's next level. So you're not just organizing, you're thinking better.
It's like you're offloading all the remembering and connecting, and your brain is free to actually think,
And do the real work. I like that. So, okay, this is sounding pretty good, but how do you actually use it? Like, walk me through it.
Okay, so to start a new project, it's actually pretty easy. You just go to the ChatGPT interface, and there's a little plus sign next to where it says project. Click on that.
Got it.
And then you just give your project a name that makes sense, like, Shakespeare analysis or marketing campaign ideas or whatever you're working on, something descriptive.
Okay, pretty straightforward. So how about adding chats to a project? Can you create new ones right in there, or do you have to, move them from somewhere else?
You can do both. You can start a brand new chat right inside the project, so everything stays together from the beginning. But if you've got some older conversations that fit the topic, you can just move them in, no problem.
So if I was working on, I don't know, let's say those Shakespeare sonnets, I could have one chat just for summarizing themes, another one for looking at metaphors, maybe even one for trying to write my own, experimenting.
Exactly. It's like having all these different perspectives on the same topic right there at your fingertips.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of different perspectives, the article I was reading mentioned something about GPT-4 and how it's connected to projects.
Oh, yes.
And this seems like a big deal. Could you explain what that means?
So this is an important detail. All the conversations that happen inside projects, they're all using the GPT-4o model, even if you're just using the free version of ChatGPT.
Wait, so I could be using the free version, but if I'm in a project, I'm suddenly using the fancy GPT-4o.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that. So what's the difference, really? Like, what can GPT-4o do that the regular one can't?
Well, one of the main things is that GPT-4o is just much better at understanding complex information. It's like it has a way bigger memory, and it gets all those little nuances of language that gives you better summaries, can do deeper analysis. Even the writing is just, more creative and flows better.
Okay, now I'm seeing why they call it fancy.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone who's working inside a project, how would they actually see that difference? Let's say I'm using a project to research, I don't know, some historical event.
Okay, so in that case, you might find that GPT-4o can take information from a bunch of different sources and give you this really, really detailed and complex understanding of what happened. You're not just getting, a list of facts, you're getting a real analysis. You see different viewpoints, the underlying causes, maybe even how that event connects to like the bigger picture of history.
It's like it's actually thinking about it, not just spitting out information.
Exactly. And there's more. The article I was reading also talked about how this GPT-4o is even better with file uploads and custom instructions.
Okay, now I need to hear more about that. First, file uploads. What's so special about that?
Okay. Imagine you're working on a project that involves like a huge data set or a research paper that's like 1,000,000 pages long.
Been there.
Instead of copying and pasting all that stuff into ChatGPT, you can just upload the whole file and GPT-4o can handle it.
So I could upload, let's say, my company's financial report and ask it to find the key takeaways or compare it to last year's report.
Exactly. You could also upload like a historical document and have it analyze the language, tell you who the key players were, all sorts of stuff.
That's amazing. It's like having a research assistant who never sleeps.
And don't forget, this is all happening inside your project, right? So GPT-4o is remembering everything you've talked about before, learning what you need.
So it's getting smarter as you go. Okay, now I'm really impressed. What about those custom instructions you mentioned? How do those work?
With custom instructions, you can tell GPT-4o exactly how you want it to respond within a specific project. Like you could tell it to use a certain tone of voice or focus on specific parts of the topic, even to write in a certain style.
So if I'm writing a screenplay, I could tell it to focus on, like, dialogue and characters. Or even to write, like, I don't know, Quentin Tarantino.
Exactly. Or if you're writing a scientific paper, you could tell it to use all the technical terms and cite all the right sources.
So it's not just a tool, it's like a collaborator.
That's a great way to think about it. And here's the really cool part. GPT-4o is actually even better at understanding those custom instructions when you're working inside a project.
It's like the project gives it like a framework to work within.
Exactly. So you get even more accurate and relevant responses.
Okay, so now we've got GPT-4o, we've got file uploads, we've got custom instructions. This is getting pretty powerful. But with all this power, there's got to be some things to watch out for, right? How do we actually manage all these projects effectively? Any tips from the experts?
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest things is just to make sure you're using really clear and descriptive names for your projects, especially if you've got a lot of them going on. You want to be able to tell what's what at a glance.
So instead of just calling a project research, I should be more specific, like the impact of social media on teenagers.
Exactly. The more specific, the better. It'll save you so much time and frustration later on.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Another good tip is to use different chats within a project to organize subtopics. So, for example, if you're planning a trip, you could have separate chats for like flights, hotels, things to do,
Makes sense. So it's like breaking a big project down into smaller pieces. Easier to manage.
Right. Just like organizing files on your computer, it's all about having a system that works for you. And lastly, don't forget to go back and review your finished projects every once in a while. It's a good way to track your progress, see what worked well, and maybe even learn some things for next time.
It's like doing a debrief, but with your AI partner.
Exactly. It helps you keep learning and growing even after the project is done.
Okay, I'm really starting to get excited about these projects, but let's be real. There's got to be some downsides, right? What are some of the limitations we should know about?
Well, one of the main ones right now is that projects are really only for individual use. You can't really collaborate with others on them.
That's a bummer. I could see how useful it would be if, a team could work on a project together.
Yeah, the potential for collaboration is huge. Imagine students working on a group project inside ChatGPT, or researchers sharing data and ideas in real time.
Or writers co-authoring a novel with the help of AI. The possibilities are endless.
Exactly. But it seems like that's not quite possible yet.
Not yet. But the fact that people are talking about it, it makes me think that maybe OpenAI is working on it.
I hope so. It would be a game changer.
So, fingers crossed for the future. Now, what about connecting projects to other platforms? Like, can I link it to my Google Drive or Dropbox?
That's a great question. Right now, you can't directly connect to those cloud storage services.
That's a bit of a pain point for someone like me who lives in the cloud.
Yeah.
But I guess this being a relatively new feature, they're probably still working on all that.
Yeah, I'm sure they're working on all sorts of new integrations, improvements. It's still early days, but it's clear that projects are already a really powerful tool. And who knows what the future holds.
Okay, so we've talked about how GPT-4o, file uploads, and custom instructions all work together to make projects really personalized and efficient. We've also talked about how to manage them effectively, using clear names, organizing subtopics, and reviewing your work regularly. And we've touched on some of the limitations, like the lack of collaboration and cloud storage integration. But even with those limitations, it seems like projects are a big step forward in how we interact with AI.
Absolutely. It's a move towards more persistent, personalized AI. It's more powerful, that's for sure.
And that brings us to the really exciting part. What does this all mean for the future? Like, what if these projects become more than just individual tools? What if they become the foundation for, like, a whole new way of creating things?
Imagine teams working together seamlessly inside shared projects, using GPT-4o to brainstorm, analyze data, come up with solutions to complex problems.
What if projects become integrated with all our other tools? It's like our digital of physical workspace is just, like, merged together.
It's mind-blowing. And a little bit scary, honestly.
True. But it's a future we need to think about, right?
Absolutely. As AI becomes more and more a part of our lives, we have to make sure we're using it responsibly, ethically. It's a big responsibility.
So, yes, we're excited about all the possibilities. But we also need to be having these conversations about what kind of future we want to build. A future where AI is our partner, not our replacement.
Right. And that's a conversation we all need to be a part of. It really is. So like I was saying, one of the things that makes GPT-4o so powerful is its ability to process like really complex information. It's almost like it has a much bigger working memory, and it's better at picking up on all the little nuances of language, so you get more accurate summaries, deeper analysis. Even the writing is it's more creative, it flows better.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see what you mean. But how would someone actually experience those differences when they're working inside a project? Like, can you give me a real-world example?
Sure. So let's say you're using a project to, research a historical event, something with lots of different perspectives and interpretations. GPT-4o would be able to pull all that information together from tons of sources, right? And then instead of just giving you a bullet point list of facts, it could actually give you a much more nuanced understanding of what happened, highlighting the different viewpoints, maybe exploring the underlying causes. It might even be able to connect that event to bigger historical trends.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. It's like GPT-4o is going beyond just spitting out information. It's actually thinking about it, analyzing it.
Exactly. It's taking things to a whole new level. And that's not all. The source I was looking at, it also mentions how GPT-4's capabilities are even more enhanced when you use file uploads and custom instructions.
Okay, now we're talking. Let's dig into that. File uploads first. What's the big deal with that?
Okay, imagine this. You're working on a project and you need to analyze, a huge data set or a research paper that's 1,000 pages long.
Tell me about it.
Instead of having to copy and paste all that stuff into ChatGPT, you can just upload the whole file, and GPT-4o can handle it.
Wait, seriously? So, I could upload, let's say, my company's annual financial report and ask GPT-4o to summarize the key findings, or compare it to last year's report.
Exactly. Or you could upload a historical document and have GPT-4o analyze the language, identify the key people involved, or even put it into its proper historical context. The possibilities are kind of endless.
That's incredible. It's like having a research assistant who's available 24/7.
Right. And the best part is this is all happening within your project, remember? So GPT-4o is using everything you've talked about before, everything it's learned about your needs and interests to give you the most relevant and useful information.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see the power of this. What about those custom instructions? How do those work with projects?
So with custom instructions, you can basically set specific rules for how you want GPT-4o to respond within a particular project. You can tell it what kind of tone of voice to use, which aspects of a topic to focus on, or even what writing style you prefer. It's all about making it work the way you want it to.
Okay, so let's say I'm using a project to write, I don't know, screenplay. I could tell GPT-4o to really focus on dialogue and character development.
Yeah.
Or even to write, like, I don't know, my favorite screenwriter.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you're working on a scientific paper, you could tell it to use all the technical jargon and make sure all the sources are cited correctly.
It's almost like it's not just a tool anymore. It's more like a partner.
That's a great way to put it. And here's something that's really interesting. The source I was reading, it suggests that GPT-4o is actually even better at understanding and applying those custom instructions when you're working within a project.
That makes sense. It's like the project gives it like a framework, a context to work within.
Exactly. So you end up getting, even more accurate, more relevant responses, which is what we all want, right?
For sure. Okay, so now we've got GPT-4o, file uploads, custom instructions. This is getting pretty powerful. But with all this power, I mean, there must be some things to watch out for, right? Like, how do we manage all these projects effectively? Any tips from the pros?
Oh, absolutely. One of the biggest things is just to make sure you're using really clear and descriptive titles for your projects. Especially if you've got a lot of them going on, you want to be able to see what's what at a glance.
So instead of just calling a project research, I should be more specific, like the impact of social media on teenagers.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Exactly. The more specific, the better. You'll thank yourself later.
Loaded. Any other tips?
Another good one is to use different chats within a project to organize subtopics. So let's say you're planning a trip. You could have separate chats for flights, hotels, activities,
That's a great idea. It's like breaking a big project down into smaller pieces.
Right.
Makes it way more manageable.
Exactly. Just like organizing files on your computer. It's all about finding a system that works for you. And one last thing, don't forget to go back and review your finished projects every now and then. It's a good way to see what worked well, maybe learn some things for next time. It's almost like doing a post-project debrief with your AI partner.
I like that. It's all about continuous improvement. Okay, I'm really starting to get excited about these projects, but let's be real for a minute. There have got to be some downsides, right? What are some of the limitations we should be aware of?
Well, one of the main limitations right now is that projects are really designed for individual use. You can't really collaborate with others on them, at least not yet.
Oh, that's a bummer. I mean, I can see how useful it would be if a team could work together on a project inside ChatGPT.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. Students working together on a group project inside ChatGPT. Researchers sharing their data and ideas in real time. Writers co-authoring a novel with AI assistants.
That's amazing. But it sounds like that's not possible yet.
Not yet, unfortunately. But the fact that people are already talking about it, it makes me think that maybe OpenAI is working on it,
Fingers crossed. That would be a game changer for sure. Okay, what about connecting projects to other platforms? Like, can I link it to my Google Drive or Dropbox?
Ah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, right now, you can't directly connect to those cloud storage services.
Oh, okay. That's a bit of a pain point for me.
Okay.
Since I basically live in the cloud. But I guess this being a relatively new feature, they're probably still working on all that integration stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure they're working on all kinds of new features and improvements behind the scenes. It's still early days, but it's clear that projects are already a really powerful tool, and who knows what the future holds. There's so much potential here.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of what we've covered so far. We talked about how GPT-4o, file uploads, and custom instructions all work together to make projects really personalized and efficient.
Right.
We also talked about some tips for managing those projects effectively. Using clear names, organizing those subtopics, and making sure we review our work regularly. And we touched on some of the limitations, like the lack of collaboration features and cloud storage integration. But even with those limitations, it seems like projects are a huge step forward in how we use AI.
Absolutely. It's all about moving towards a more persistent, personalized AI experience. It's more powerful, more intuitive. It's exciting.
And that brings us to the most exciting part, right? Thinking about the future. What if these projects become more than just, individual tools? What if they become the foundation for like a whole new way of working together, of creating things?
Imagine teams working together seamlessly within shared projects, brainstorming ideas, analyzing data, finding solutions to complex problems, all powered by GPT-4o.
And what if those projects become integrated with all our other tools, like our digital and physical workspaces, just like blend together seamlessly?
It's mind-blowing. It's almost a little bit scary to think about, honestly.
Yeah, it is. But it's a future we need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
Right? As AI becomes more and more a part of our lives.
Absolutely. We have a responsibility to make sure we're using this technology ethically for the benefit of everyone. It's not just about the cool features, it's about the bigger picture.
Right. So we should be excited about all the possibilities, yes. But we also need to be having these conversations, about what kind of future we want to build. A future where AI is our partner, not our replacement.
Exactly. And that's a conversation that everyone needs to be a part of, not just the tech experts, but everyone. It really is a conversation for everyone. But even beyond those bigger questions, I mean, there are some more practical concerns too, right? Like, what does this all mean for jobs? If AI can do so much now, I mean, are people going to start losing their jobs?
It's a question a lot of people are asking, for sure. And it's a valid concern. But if we look back at history, I mean, every time there's been a big technological shift, there have been, anxieties about jobs.
Yeah.
But ultimately, those shifts usually end up creating new opportunities, new industries that we couldn't even have imagined before.
Right. Like, who could have predicted the whole world of, like, app developers and social media managers even, 20 years ago?
Exactly. So maybe instead of being afraid of losing jobs, we should be thinking about, like, how can we adapt our skills, Embrace these new possibilities that AI is bringing to the table.
I like that. Think of it as a collaboration, not a competition. AI can take care of all those, like, repetitive tasks, the things that no one really wants to do anyway. And that frees up humans to focus on the stuff that really requires, creativity, strategy, empathy, all those things that AI can't replicate.
Yeah. Like, imagine a teacher who doesn't have to spend hours grading multiple choice tests anymore, because AI can do that now. They can use that time to work with students individually, to mentor them, to create more engaging lessons. That's a win for everyone.
Exactly. It's all about using AI to enhance what we already do, to make us better, not to replace us.
And it's not just about the workplace either, right? Think about the potential in education, healthcare, scientific research. Imagine every student having a personalized learning plan tailored to their unique needs. AI could help doctors diagnose diseases earlier, maybe even prevent them altogether. Scientists could run complex simulations and make breakthroughs faster than ever before.
The possibilities are mind-boggling. It's like we're standing at the edge of this whole new world. But as we, get excited about all that, we also have to be careful, right?
For sure. There are definitely ethical considerations to think about, like how do we make sure these AI systems are fair, that they're not biased against certain groups of people?
And what about data privacy? As AI becomes more integrated into our lives, we have to make sure our personal information is protected and that it's being used responsibly.
These are big questions, and there's no easy answers.
Definitely not. It's going to take, a lot of discussion, a lot of collaboration between policymakers, tech experts, ethicists, everyone, really. We all have a stake in this.
It's like we're navigating uncharted territory here, but it's a journey we have to take together. And it seems like, these ChatGPT projects with this whole idea of personalized AI, persistent memory, it could play a big role in how all this unfolds.
Absolutely. I mean, just imagine if these projects evolve into these, like, dynamic, collaborative spaces where humans and AI can work together as partners to solve these big, complex problems, create incredible new things.
It's both exciting and a little bit daunting, isn't it?
It really is. But it's a future we have to approach with curiosity, with responsibility, and with a commitment to using these powerful tools for good, for the benefit of all of us.
Well said. And it seems like every time we do one of these deep dives, we end up with more questions than answers. But maybe that's the point, right?
That's the beauty of exploration. The more we learn, the more we realize how much more there is to discover.
And that's what keeps it interesting. So to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Who knows what amazing things we'll discover together.
Until next time, keep diving deep.